Welcome back to Shat The Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, where the movies we... I wanted to do a thing. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Call it, I don't know if it's too cute, but call it Shat... I apologize, Ash. I'm so sorry. Shat the Surf Off. Because...
I think you've been
concussed. Yeah, I know, that's
you've
not funny at all, Gene.
It's not funny at all.
Shat the Surf Off? Okay,
no. Literally
here we go.
All
right.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down to Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat The Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why do they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I'm one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me are my co-hosts, Ash Whoopsie Daisy Schlafly.
Hi, y'all.
And Big D Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
Each week, we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, or want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatthemovies.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, press the subscribe button and share with a friend. That's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Lovecraft Country, Game of Thrones, True Detective, and Watchmen. Find all that information and past episodes at shatontv.com. Finally, if you'd like to hang out with us live, please follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatthemovies.com/Twitch, where we play video games and host watch parties and special events. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing today?
So, Gene, each week when we record a commission for one of our listeners, we try to do our best to make sure that they're happy. We try to meet what their expectations are. And one of our listeners, Erica H., she commissioned UHF, I think about a year ago, for her sister Lisa and her cousin Rich. We must have done a good enough job because she was happy with it that she came back this time and she said, I want you guys to commission the 1987 comedy Back to the Beach.
And she wrote in and said, hi guys, I would very much like for you to review Back to the Beach. Unlike UHF, where I described in painstaking detail the first time I saw that movie, I don't have the first clue as to when, where, and how I saw this movie. I just know it's awesome. I grew up with WPIX Channel 11 in New York, airing Frankie and Annette, Abbott and Costello, and Laurel and Hardy movie marathons on Saturday afternoons. So I knew their movies. Fast forward to 1987 when the Monkees reunited for a 20th anniversary tour and teenage Erica was sitting by the TV ready to tape any and every crap Hollywood Access type show to capture their appearances. Huge Monkees fan, by the way. Everything I taped also had Frankie and Annette promoting this film, but I don't think I cared or ran to the theater to see it. Whenever I did see it, it was magical. What's not to like? Callbacks to 50s and 60s TV, great tunes, Rodney Bingenheimer, Davy Jones' stand-in on the show, PeeWee Herman, and Fishbone. It's a veritable cornucopia of utter delight. I hope it makes you smile. Erica.
Well, Back to the Beach is a 1987 comedy starring Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello that generated a total domestic gross of $13 million. It received a 2 thumbs up rating for Siskel and Ebert, whoever they are. Back to the Beach is an open parody of the beach party films made popular in the 1960s, especially those in which Avalon and Funicello had appeared. The film's soundtrack included covers of several well-known beach tunes, along with new songs by such artists as Amy Mann and Private Domain. Big D, Ash, we always ask what your memories are of the movies we're covering. Big D, we'll start with you. What are your memories of Back to the Beach?
Before I talk about Back to the Beach, I want to thank Erica H. for bringing up WPIX in New York. As a kid, that was where I watched the Yankees, when it was Phil Rizzuto and Bill White. It was a great time in my life, and thinking back to watching the movies like you did really made me have a great flashback and think about the warm summer days sitting there watching the Yankees. So thank you for that. But as far as this movie, Back to the Beach, and Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello, The only thing I knew them from or knew Frankie Avalon from was Grease, which was Beauty School Dropout. At no point, I can say this confidently, in my entire life have I even considered watching Back to the Beach. I never saw it and said, wow, that would be interesting. Let's give it a chance. So when I hit play this week, I didn't know what I was in for, and I want to thank you for that experience.
I had never heard of or seen this movie, actually, before this. When the poster got shown to me the first time, the way that it looks, it's like that classic 80s, like lots of neon and that font. I thought it was Saved by the Bell. That's what I was like, oh, wow, did somebody commission a Saved by the Bell movie? And I got really excited, but it's okay. This one I was kind of excited to do as well because I knew who the characters were. I knew who Frankie Avalon was, and I really knew who Annette Funicello was. She's actually somebody that my dad talked about a ton growing up. I think she's the first woman I ever heard him talk about in any way about being beautiful or anything like that other than my mom. So she stuck out for me. He was kind of obsessed with her. And I remember her from like the old clips of the Mickey Mouse Club that we saw at Disney World. So I was excited to see her in something. But other than that, I really didn't know anything going in.
Ash, that movie poster style that you're talking about, that font, those colors, like this was 1987. I don't know what the hell was going on. There was like this beach craze where all the t-shirts, all the posters all look like this. Everybody seemed to want to go to the beach. Like Jimmy Z became that huge lifestyle brand. It was like Jimmy Z surfboards, like cool beach cruisers. And all the movies and songs were super beach focused. The Beach Boys were making like a comeback. And it made me really nostalgic, this entire concept, because in 87, I remember as a kid living in Arizona, you could decide that weekend to go to the beach with like minimal planning. Just get in the car, drive to California, and all this shit was going on. You could find parking, you could go out and see the water, and it's not like that anymore on the West Coast. I think the East Coast, like the Jersey Shore, is a little closer to this. But I long for these days, especially after watching this movie, of when you could just go to the beach and check shit out.
Yeah, if you look at the poster, though, it kind of loses some of the cool points, where it says, fasten your seatbelts and get ready for a totally new wave in like bold font, all caps, motion picture experience. Yes, we get it. New wave in the 80s. Ha ha. The movie should have just stuck with a retro cover. Don't try to pull in these kids that are new wave because they're not going to sit and watch a beach movie.
A way to drag us into the trailer, Big D.
Okay, gang! Head for the car! Beach City, baby! Even totally knocks down, get on your boards!
Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello are going back to the beach! It's some of them that
Not as good as the long wooden boards I used to ride, but yeah.
I feel like riding around on a coffee table.
So what do you say we do some damage to my dad's American Express card?
Bird's the word, I want a bird! Bird is the word, I want a bird! I can't talk now, man, I gotta surf! Sorry, man, I'm bird is the word! Bird! Bird is the word! Don't you know about the bird? Well, everybody knows that the bird is the word! I want a bird!
Really know how to talk to her, Dad.
Oh!
Frankie Avalon.
How about... Hey, what's the word?
Annette Funicello. Special appearances by Don Adams.
You're the harbor master, right? Now, I'm the captain of the love boat.
Bob Denver.
Don't call me that. I hate being called that.
Hey, dude!
And PeeWee Herman.
Bitchin'!
Back to the beach.
Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello are a husband and wife living in Ohio, far from the surf and sand of their earlier lives together. Frankie is a stressed out car salesman and former big kahuna of the surf scene in California, while Annette bottles up her own sense of angst in a bevy of shopping. Together, they are raising a son, Bobby, who is in the throes of rebellion against his seemingly square folks. So the movie opens up with this narration by Bobby, who sets the scene for everything. He takes us from the 60s all the way to present day. He's looking cool in his, like, I don't know, BDSM biker outfit while sitting on the stairs of an airplane. And if you're going to leave half the movie's jokes and all the movie's narration to a fucking child, you better make sure that child is charming. And Bobby is not. Dude has like a mouthful of braces. He sounds like he's got a speech impediment. He's whiny. He's hard to look at. Like, this is a truly ugly child. And the movie could have been something special with the believable bad boy. Like, say you like had a time machine, you get like Ed Furlong in there or River Phoenix. You might have something going here, but you cannot put all your eggs in this Bobby basket.
Yeah, Gene, once again, you're proving that you and I are like twinsies constantly, because I was watching this movie and I went, River fucking Phoenix should have been cast in this role. Like, this was made for a kid like him. Because these are two really good looking parents, right? Like Annette Funicello, even Frankie Avalon still looks pretty good. Like, you'd think they'd have an attractive kid, and this kid, he is not. When he does his karate kicks, it's not charming. It's just gross. It's like watching those old Star Wars kid videos where you just feel bad for him. And his outfits, he looks like he raided like his dad's closet if his dad was like a leather daddy and he didn't know it. And so he's wearing these oversized costumes. It's gross. I wanted to slap him. I wanted to put him in timeout. Fuck you, Bobby.
I'm halfway between fuck him and feeling bad for him. Because the actor, so I can give him credit for this, his name is Damian Slade.
Oh, God.
You may recognize him as the paper boy from Better Off Dead.
Oh,
that was his only acting. So think about what he did in that role. $2 and brushing his hair back with that fake knife comb. They cast him in this. He probably said, that shit worked dynamite. That was my only line, and everybody loves me. The movie suffered because of him. But in my research about poor Damien, I had a really a coming to Jesus moment. Him and I, we have some kind of connection. We have almost exactly the same birthday. So I do feel some connectivity to him. So I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack.
Does he look as good as you now?
No,
Fuck him.
No. Not that I look great, but the years have not been kind to young Damien.
There was no glow up there.
No glow up.
Not
there.
a Neville.
No, he's lost all of his hair. He looks a bit rough. He's in a van down by the river. Not good.
No offense to our van living bald fans out there.
No. And it's hard because he is just so unlovable. And you juxtapose that to Annette Funicello, who I love her so much. She's like, I hope the bags don't take too long. We got a 10-hour layover. That's my mother. You get a Marge Grunderson vibe. She's optimistic. She's upbeat. I think in the movie they have a line that says, she's been positive for the last 22 years. She looks retro. She looks cool. She's fit. She might be a little bit boring, but I found her to be infectious.
Oh, she's not boring at all. I think she's infectiously adorable. And she reminds me of my own mom, those like petite, feisty brunettes who just have boundless energy. People confuse a cheery disposition with not having seen some shit. I take one look at Annette and I'm like, she's seen some shit. And I'm starting to think that seeing some shit is what leads to a cheery disposition. You're like, oh, you think this is bad? This is nothing. I have seen some shit. Here's some peanut butter.
Yeah,
exactly.
Crunchy on a special day. I was really triggered, though, by this movie from the get-go, because when you have kids, I feel like one of your greatest fears once, you don't kill them for the first 2 years of their life is that you worry about them turning into assholes. And then if they don't turn into assholes, you also worry about like this loss of identity you have with them, where like I was really cool at one point in my life, and the idea of like becoming obsessed with like investments and the stress of life and like the worst part of adulting that you hate when you're a kid, seeing that reflected in your child's eyes has to be like the most stone cold, sobering moment that you could possibly have in your life. And so I don't know. I mean, I think I'm already this overly positive parent because I'm innately so nihilistic and cynical, and that's not kid friendly. And so guys, is this my future? Because I don't want to be on a plane one day with my kids being assholes and Tom looking like he's had 5 spray tans before we left and me wearing pearls. I mean, Is this inevitable, Big D?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard because Vanessa and I waited until, not by our own choice, into our 40s before we had Emma. It took years of in vitro. So I think even though that was a hard thing to do, it was much easier than having kids at 20. I don't know how people do that, where you still want to party, where you still want to go out. The FOMO would be killing people today with social media, that you have to sit at home with a child. So being an adult, being older, it allowed us to party and still be relatively cool, air quotes, into our 40s. I mean, when we moved into this house, we had 20 friends volunteer to move us in. 5 years later, after being full-time parents, work, no free time, barely going out, COVID, whatever, we'd be lucky to get 5. So it does change you, and you have to continue to fight it. So it is not inevitable, Ash. You'll see your kid becoming a dick before they're full-blown dick, and you have to really intervene at that young age.
So this might just be the 40-year-old in me and the non-parent in me, but isn't having a kid the craziest shit? Isn't it way crazier than anything else you've ever done?
No.
Fuck you guys.
No.
No. What do you think this is? Where you're a party, yeah, wow, we got a kid. Look how cool. After the first couple months, it wears off.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Is if I go out and I start a fight, I'll recover from that fight. If I go wreck a motorcycle, I'll recover from wrecking the motorcycle. If I have a child, that shit's permanent. It could go horribly wrong.
Yeah, but so's your tattoos.
Oh, it definitely can go wrong.
Yeah, you've done permanent shit. Is it the craziest thing I've done? No. Is it definitely the most scariest thing I've done? Probably.
When I was going through sapper school, when I was going through the shit where you go 30 days without showering, at the time, was it fun? Hell no. But looking back now, you only remember the positive things. It's something that's in our head that allow us to forget about what we've gone through and maybe have another child.
Yeah.
It is the only way we can cope with it and be like, hey, that wasn't that bad. Let's have another one.
Yeah. It's also why they're so cute, so you don't need them.
Well, one day the family decides to take a vacation to Hawaii, deciding to stop in California to visit their daughter, Sandy, played by Lori Loughlin. Frankie and Annette are appalled to learn that she has been making time with surfer Michael, played by Bobby Hinckley, throughout her time there. Okay, so as we move on to Sandy and Michael, we get to finally see the beach in California. And the beach in the 80s looks dope as fuck. You got the muscle dudes, you got the surfer dudes, you got the punk dudes. Apparently in the 80s, all women were allowed to do is watch those dudes and be really impressed and go, oh, but everything looks good. And I'm wondering, is the beach still, I live in Arizona. I don't have a beach. Is the beach like that? And if so, why is anyone doing any of this shit? I would just be fucking all the time.
So, Gene, I grew up in New York, and the beach we would go to was Jones Beach. So you had to drive out there. It was not LA. It was not fit people. It was a lot of people that should not be shirtless. It was a lot of pasty people, a lot of tank tops, a lot of hairy people. I'll say that also.
Hey!
What? What do you mean?
I'm not hairy. Let me make sure that goes in, that people understand I'm not hairy. But on Gene's behalf, I was saying hey.
Yeah, Big D just took out his fucking pain gun and shot everyone in the room.
Yeah, I'm pasty. No. Shade from
She's
death
pasty,
over here.
I'm hairy.
And he's hairy.
And I like to take my shirt off.
I like to take mine off too.
Okay, so if you took, let's say, the cast of Dirty Work, if you took your buddies to the beach, that's what it would look like. It really wasn't an attractive crowd. Yes, the young kids are in good shape, but New York in the summers was not like this dreamboat buffet of just attractive people.
Well, that's a bummer. I've always said that Disney Worlds were some of the most unattractive people gather and then all sweat together in the sun.
Yes, I love that. I used to get people when I worked at Disney who would come up and be like, look at his outfit. Because I had to wear this Asian agobe and these sandals when I worked at Flights of Wonder for Asia.
Point of order here. What's an agobe?
It was it looked like a pastel.
Like a kimono?
Yes, it was like a pastel bed sheet that I wrapped in. And people would laugh at me. And I'd be like, who are you laughing at? You're missing teeth. Your kids obviously need an orthodontist. And you're spending $6,000 to be here for 5 days.
Why is that not the Shat The Movies logo?
I gotta find a picture of that.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
yeah, you fucking do.
It was hot as balls. So, Ash, as we get older, I find myself relating now to the parents in these movies. But one thing I can't relate to with Frankie is, why do you portray him as a tough guy? I'm going to tear his arms apart. I'm going to break his leg. I'm going to knock out Troy. Come on. There is no way that Frankie Avalon is believable as anyone who can do damage. It's my least favorite part of the movie. They should have made him stick to his bubbly character.
I mean, dude's got some balls on him to walk onto the beach and confront the Zeds and just talk mad shit at his little, bulldog size that he is. The issue that I have is the way he interacts with Bobby, right? Because every time Bobby starts fucking mouthing off, I don't advocate hitting your kids. I think Bobby, by his use of switchblades and leather, has identified himself as a man, an enemy combatant. I would say that Frankie would be justified in smacking the shit out of this kid, but he does that thing where he's like, and he just waves his hands in the air, and that was driving me nuts. I was like, just fucking smack the fucking kid, because he's asking for it, and at one point, he does that thing where he cowers, he's like, Mom! But he knows he's not going to get hit. Frankie, fucking, if you can't hit the big guys, hit Bobby right in the face.
That is fucking it. As a parent, if you tell your kids, hey, I'm going to count till 3, and you get to 3 and don't do whatever you said you're going to do, they've called your bluff. They know you're full of shit, and they will do it every time. You can't unring that bell.
Yeah, Obama with the line in the sand.
Okay, great analogy. I was thinking more about Bobby the first time you tell him, hey, I'm going to ground you. If you had done it, you know what, Frankie? Your kid wouldn't be talking shit today.
No, or looking like an absolute tool. Well, and then we meet like Bobby's sister, right? And first of all, shout out to Lori Loughlin. She looked good in this movie. She looked fantastic. But there's this whole scenario here where she's lying to her parents about living with her boyfriend. And I totally related to this. I did this once. I lived with a guy. And it's not that like I was afraid of my parents. I just didn't want to deal with them knowing, because I kind of moved in with a lot of people over the years. And so I just didn't want to have to explain that I was doing it again. And so whenever like my mom would come over, I would like hide his shoes. So it wasn't like some crazy thing like this where he's jumping out of windows. But I don't know. I just feel like, this is a big thing, that a lot of people do. They just don't want to deal with their parents knowing. So I kind of related to her in that, right?
Did you guys both live with your spouses prior to proposing?
Yeah, I would have never married someone that I didn't live with.
Yeah, I tell you, mine was weird. I got legally married to her, then I proposed to her, then we moved in, then we had the ceremony. So it's a little out of order.
We lived together, and then he asked me to marry him, and I said no because I didn't believe in marriage. And then he asked again and again, and I said yes.
I feel like if a relationship is ever going to fall apart, it's at the living together stage.
Yeah.
To me, like, it just seems like there's a degree of naivete that says, oh yeah, living together is going to be fine, because it's not about your love. It's not about your romance. It's about your ability to cohabit in the same building.
You have your little things, right? Like the things you can't stand, like the things that you're not willing to negotiate on. Like there are like 3 things in the way that I live that I would not change for another person. I cannot stand. And I know it's a little thing, but like when people fucking don't close drawers or cabinets, like, and they leave shit open, like I can't fucking stand that.
What kind of a fucking animal leaves a drawer open?
3 different people that I lived with.
What?
And so I'm like
That's
running
a hazard.
into shit in the middle of the night.
Hazard.
Number 2, when the side of your bed looks like you're a fucking 17-year-old teenage boy. And I'm not talking about like having like shoes there or something, but like where it's just like a fucking mess on your side of the bed, because I am a control freak and neat freak. And so my side of the bed is always clean. I cannot sleep if there's clutter. It's just something I can't do.
I live with that person.
Okay, well, that's fine because Vanessa and I are going to live together, but she's lovely. And then the third thing is when somebody doesn't do any housework at all. Like, like where they just like assume that because you're better at it, that you are going to, not because you're a woman, because I've never lived with a misogynist. It's more just like, hey, you're really good at cleaning, because I am, again, control freak, neat freak. And then they're just like, okay, so I'm just going to let you do those things.
Yeah, I would have been like, I'm good at cleaning. You're good at paying for someone to clean this.
Yeah. And I hate snoring. That's the other thing.
Well, I mean, people can't help that.
Well, they can. There's machines and nose things and pillows. And like, I'm not talking about like a little snore, like a cute little, like sexy masculine snore. Like, I mean, like a snore. Can't deal with that.
I feel like this list is way longer than 4 things.
No, I really think that's it, actually, now that they've done it. Yeah. I think that's it. Those aren't too crazy, right? Like, it's not total neuroses.
They're completely fine.
The living thing aside, I had a real problem with fucking Connie in this movie. Annette Funicello was way too nice to her because the way that she deals with Connie is much better than I would. And more specifically, the way she deals with Frankie's responses to Connie. Because when Frankie laughs out loud and her realization that Connie cut her out of the photos, I was like, oh, boo, Frankie. It was terrible. And here's the deal, y'all. I am not a jealous person. I have actually had huge fights and had people break up with me before because of how not jealous I am. Like, that is just not something I do. But I get jealous in this situation. I feel like I would like have a real negative reaction. And when he got up there to sing, I would have walked out of that place. She was much better than I was that she sat there. You're getting up there and you're doing your little shaking your butt thing and singing kind of off key with this bitch. I was not here for that at all.
Well, I'm here to defend Connie. This is not Connie's problem. Connie is not the bad person. Frankie is the asshole. He allows and accepts these advances. She kisses on him. She's hugging him. He ignores his family. He doesn't want to spend time with his daughter. If Frankie had manned up and said, Connie, chill out, and walked away, none of this would have happened. But by Frankie accepting these advances, he is the one disrespecting Annette. He's the dick. It's not Annette's fault to be mad at Connie. I hope that some dude out there would like to have sex with you right now, Ash. Somebody at work who's thinking about it.
Yeah.
If you accept those advances to make yourself feel better, that's being disrespectful. It's your job to walk away.
I have lots to say to that. Gene?
Man, I used to really dance this fucking line. And the reasoning being, well, I was raised by women. Most of my friends are women. Women, face it, they can't help it. They're attracted to me, right? And it's not their fault. And what am I supposed to do? Abandon my friends? And that makes it really awkward. I would fuck around and dance around this line all the time prior to meeting Sarah. And just fucking don't. Guys out there, just fucking don't. If you're asking yourself whether the thing you're doing with another woman is inappropriate, it's inappropriate. Just fucking don't. And guess what? There's so many fucking human beings out there and so many things you can be doing. It's just not fucking worth it, man. If it makes your partner feel uncomfortable, just fucking don't, man. It's cool. Women, I'm not talking to you. Guys, don't. The family misses their flight to Hawaii and ultimately end up staying in California, much to the chagrin of Frankie. Frankie and Annette get caught up with the lives of their old friends and their old beach, and thus their last beach adventure begins.
I think that everybody in this movie overacts. And I know it's a parody, but they overact to the point that I think it exceeds the parody range. Like, I think it's just bad acting in parts. And I think the biggest issue for me is Frankie Avalon. So he's supposed to be like this funny, bumbling dad. And I don't have a problem with Frankie Avalon in other movies. I'm talking about in this one. That role just doesn't suit him, I think, really well. And it made me wish for somebody like Steve Martin. So Steve Martin in Father of the Bride is that funny, bumbling dad. He's overbearing, but he's still charming. He's bumbling, but he's still really smart. And you love him at the end of the movie. And Avalon just doesn't come across in that way. I mean, look at the way he plays being drunk. Like, even that is a bit ridiculous. And I think that he doesn't understand that there's a difference between this parody of 60s acting and more modern acting and not bad acting. And by the middle of this movie, he was just kind of wearing on me a bit.
The problem with Steve Martin, though, is that he would just show up in a suit and hyper elocute. He would go up to like the Zeds on the beach. He'd be like, "Excuse me, you bumbling, brain dead dick banjos."
No.
Dick banjos.
And then like with one finger be like, "Bap," and like hit the surfboards. But I was having a hard time figuring out what was parody and what was bad acting. You know, anytime you're saying you're doing a parody, you can pass it off as bad acting. And I think it's very, very interesting, in fact, that Erica chose this after choosing UHF, Both movies where you could say, I don't know if it's bad acting or it's a parody. By the way, I love UHF. I agree that Frankie was the weakest part of this movie, other than Bobby and the Foley work and Dick Dale's hair.
I don't think this is a parody. I thought it was at first, but then I went back because I'm thorough in my research and I want to get our listeners and commissioners their the bang for their buck. I went back and watched the trailer and some of 1965's Beach Blanket Bingo.
Very thorough research, Big D. The trailer and some of.
Yes, thank you. That's what you get for $125 at that point.
Stay tuned for Dick Ebert's Shakespeare Unabridged.
Yes.
90 minutes.
So the summary of Beach Blanket Bingo is, it's the fourth in the highly successful Frankie and Annette Beach Party Movies. A motorcycle gang led by Eric Von Zipper kidnaps singer Star Sugarcane, managed by the Bullets, who hires skydiving surfer Stephen Bonney from Big Drop for the publicity stunt, with the usual gang of kids and mermaids named Larila. So this is the type of movie it was. This was not a parody. It looks like this, but in the 60s. But I got to go into because Ashley, in the movies that we've talked about before that go back, and whether it was like Grease 2, or I don't think you were on you were not on Porky's.
No.
But in a lot of these movies,
Definitely not.
definitely, we get some young ladies. They take group showers. They have pillow fights, and here we get it again. We get the instant pajama party, and it is amazing. I don't know where they get these very attractive friends, but as young Bobby is like peering over the window, I was willing to guarantee we were going to get the insinuation of him pleasuring himself.
You think this kid's going to be jerking off to his mom and sister?
No, I'm talking about the 30 other hot blondes with their boobs coming out of their shirt. Young Bobby, he's at that age.
Yo, you're telling me you could look in a window and your mom and sister are in their fucking 90s and you're going to be jerking off?
I wouldn't look at them. I'd look at the other women.
You're a very
Close one
focused
eye.
young man.
I at that time, I was dedicated to the cause.
I'm embarrassed to say I actually like this scene. I like the pajama party scene, but it's not because of the 30 blondes with their titties flopping out. It's because the Zeds showed up, and apparently they live next door, and apparently they're very tidy. Like their place looks kind of nice. Like you'd expect it to be, a bunch of like fires burning in like oil cans and shit. No, like the Zeds keep a nice home. They're there. They're very polite. They come over, they dance. And then like when the women are like, get away from us, they just like, okie dokie. And they go back to their house. They're the most harmless gang ever. I fucking love the Zeds.
Yeah, they were precious. And I just want to again dash your hopes, Big D. This never happens.
Oh, damn it.
Big D, I used to think that you and Raj were crazy when you thought that everyone in 80s movies was closeted. But there's this guy, Troy, in Back to the Beach. He is like the womanizer guy, right? A lot of gold chains, a lot of like flashy outfits. He's got a lot of nice stuff, and he's very, very talkative. Like he looks fabulous. He always has a great setup. And when he's talking to Annette, I'm like, oh God, the movie is speaking directly to us. Cause he's like, I dig chicks. I'm like, okay, he's telling you right now. And then he follows up, and chicks dig me digging them. Dig. I took that as Troy trying to come out to Annette. He's speaking in code to her. He follows up with this amazing dancing, incredible surfing attire. He had like that gold lame over like the tiger stripe. And he even tries to stick up for Annette when Frank is being like a macho dickhead and grabs her arm. He's like, I don't think the lady wants to go with you. Tell me Troy isn't gay.
As someone who has found homosexuality and child abuse in almost every 80s and 90s movie, I did not see any here. When he drops that, zebra hunting on the Serengeti, I just thought he was kind of different. He's a little insecure. His beach setup, man, that is top notch. As I've gotten older, I will not go anywhere near a beach unless I have like 50 things.
Bruh. This guy noticed the pattern that a lady was wearing and brought it up. And then his beach drink, he's not serving up fucking High Life out of a cooler. Dude's got frothy drinks and champagne flutes.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt bad because I don't know if I'm racist, but I thought it was Michael at first. Like half of these white guy surfers looked alike, and I'm like, is that Michael? Is that the boyfriend? What's going on? Is the daughter dating somebody who's
dating everybody?
Yeah, I couldn't tell, but no, I like Troy. I think he just might be fabulous and a little confused.
Along the way, Frankie must work together with a new generation of younger surfers while nearly ruining his marriage by dallying with Connie Stevens, one of several pop culture icons appearing in the film, including Fishbone, Don Adams, Bob Denver, Alan Hale Jr., Ed Burns, Jerry Mathers, Tony Dow, Barbara Billingsley, Dick Dale, Stevie Ray Vaughan, OJ Simpson, and PeeWee Herman. Okay, you just heard a lot of big names in this movie. But there's one guy I want to give a particular shout out to. When the movie lets go of trying to be a parody, as Big D said, it kind of fails at, it's actually quite good. Like the better parts of the movie are the parts that aren't trying to be parodies of the 60s. And you can see this during Mountain's beach report scene. All the surfers are hungover. They're all piled on top of each other in these like bunk beds. And the alarm goes off. And this guy, Mountain, who's Weird Al's sidekick in UHF. I see you, Erica. He wakes up and he starts taking phone calls and he's giving these surf reports. And it's hectic and it's funny and there's lots of activity. And like they start playing the music and people are going down the fire pole. And it really gets you pumped up for another surfing montage. And even Frankie is pretty good in this scene where he like drinks this Keith Richards pick-me-up of like aspirin and Alka-Seltzer and Coke, you know, in a glass. I thought this was where the movie really shined, is when they just did their own original stuff.
Yeah, I usually hate a montage. I usually think it's like really wasted film. But this one, I thought they were really good. And the surfing ones especially, I don't know if you guys have ever surfed before, but surfing is by far the hardest thing I have ever done. I have really great balance because I was a dancer and I love to ski and I love to snowboard. Surfing, so fucking hard. And these guys are badasses. And I think what I love the most about it is it wasn't a montage of like idiots surfing. Like it was a montage of like actual people surfing and looking really cool while they were doing it. And I agree with you, Gene. I really like that part of this movie.
Plus the guy with the lawn chair.
Plus the one, which was badass.
I mean, it's tough, but he was definitely hot dogging.
Yeah. And the other thing that I thought was great about this movie is I think the whole Frankie and Annette thing is one of the most accurate portrayals of marriage that we've seen like in any movie, and how in particular how hard marriage is to like kind of like keep up and remain consistent. And there was a line in this movie where Annette says that their marriage is light and that their marriage has been light for years. And I think that that's what's so interesting about getting married. We had like a really heavy conversation about marriage on the Full Monty, where Gene was like, it must be so nice to find somebody who just accepts you as you are. And sure, but you know, when you're married to somebody or even just in a long-term domestic partnership, right? Like you're busy, you're making a life, you've got to live that life, you're raising kids, and you kind of don't just lose yourself and your identity, you lose each other. And so these vacations and date nights are like touch points. Like it's the only way to keep in touch with each other. So you're not just like roommates. And please, you know, I love being married. I love my husband. I think he's great. But I heard this quote once that marriage is a promise that you stay together even when you're only able to love each other infrequently. And I think that's what we're seeing here. And marriage is tons of work, and we see what happens when the work isn't done. Even if you're married to somebody super charming like Annette Funicello, who's adorable, and I love her, like staying in a happy marriage it's fucking hard.
The reason the divorce rate's so high is because people are just ready to just pop smoke and go. People think the grass is always greener on the other side. And I don't remember where I'd heard it was. They said when you have been married for a while and you've been in a relationship and you think your life is so bad, you really need to realize that when you find someone new, you're just trading problems. You might think you're going to find somebody who's perfect, but Ash might have an issue with Tom. She says, I can't take this anymore. The next guy might have that dirty, nightstand. Mm-hmm. You find things that you might not be able to deal with. Nothing is perfect, but you should work at it. You should respect each other. And I think that's the key.
I think everybody needs to stop looking for someone who's perfect and just find someone they fear. That's what works for me. I found that the issue with every relationship I've been in prior to the current one is that I wasn't afraid of the other person. I am genuinely like afraid of Sarah, and therefore it keeps me on point. Don't fuck up. She will see it. You will get called out. Listen, it doesn't work for everybody, but it works for me.
Fetish.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, as I'm watching this movie, I started to have a realization and feeling my age. Just like when we did LA Story, I felt my inner Sandy had died. Frankie Avalon seems so old. He's this curmudgeon. He's going back trying to live his best years again. I then realized he was younger when he was filming at 46 than I am today. I am that guy. It made me feel so sad. I mean, part of it, as you grow older, I think your brain freezes in your mid-30s. You think you're about 30, you're still relatively good looking, you're physically capable, but then everyone else sees who you are. I mean, the fact, I was like, Frankie, you fucking stick in the mud. No, that's me. I'm the stick in the mud.
I was looking up ages the other day because that's something people do when they're 40. And I looked to Homer Simpson. You know how old he is?
38.
38 years old.
No, was it?
Yeah. Fucking Frank Sabatka from The Wire is younger than I am. I'm like, holy shit, man. I'm fucking old. But Big D, here's the thing, is you don't look like vintage luggage. You don't have a helmet for hair. You look better than Bobby, dude. You're fine, you know?
Thank you.
You're not wearing shark skin suits on the beach and having your weird butt like luminesce as you run through the sand, okay? You're fine. You're fine. I think age is just as much about the decisions you make as, you know, the years that you've been on the planet. Although, I should point out to the listeners that someone went mall walking this week.
Oh, that's true. I did. It was awesome. It was air conditioning. The music was great. I did. It was like my silver sneakers.
But true to the young man in Big D, he sent me a picture of a mannequin's titty. So all is well. I got to close this bucket with a complaint about the movie. And Erica, I promise I will be kind and I will be gentle, but I got to point this one out. This movie cannot help itself when it comes to explaining the jokes. And I'm going to chalk it up to the fact that people in 1987 were probably pretty stupid when it comes to comedy. Like they weren't very sophisticated. Every time they make a good joke, they have to ruin it by explaining it. And I'll point this out. OJ, he shows up in the airport. We're like, okay, cool. It's funny. Pigskin, suitcase. We get it. Haha, funny. He's a football player. He runs over and like jumps and hurdles the first guy. Bobby's excited. It's OJ Simpson. We get it. But they got to ruin it by him like tripping over a thing. Be like, oh, it's funny because OJ Simpson, he trips, right? Annette and Connie making the joke about Annette. But then she has to point out Annette, like Annette. Dick Dale and at least two Deltones is on the marquee outside of Daddy O's. And it's like funny, you know, because Dick Dale is old and the Deltones are not all together anymore. It's fine in the background, but then they make it the entire screen so that they make sure that you saw it. Then you got the Gilligan's Island thing multiple times. You got PeeWee. All of these things could be funny if you didn't address them. But Back to the Beach makes the mistake of calling out the joke for all the dopes in the crowd, and it ruins it for the smarter people.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most egregious was the Gilligan thing. I mean, I groaned out loud every time he was on the screen. It was total waste of time.
Like, don't you agree? It would have been funny, though, if he was just the bartender and that was it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Or like he shows up like as a missing person somewhere after he's in the scene. Like, you know, something more clever than that. But ugh.
I mean, we're looking at this now, you know, what are we talking, 30 some odd years later? This is, back in that day, this was probably the first check any of these guys had earned in a long time. So they were going to give him some screen time. But Gene, I want to explain that joke to you, the OJ joke. You being the young whippersnapper you are, it's not a football joke. He did a famous Avis commercial where he was running through an airport late to catch his flight, and he hurdles a big stack of bags to make his flight. So him falling was a parody of that commercial. But like Maxwell Smart, the harbor master, that is from Get Smart. He is the character like a James Bond bumbling character. You have June and Wally and Beaver doing the scoring of the contest. They didn't do anything heavy-handed. You were just like, holy shit, it's Wally and the Beaver like debating over whether or not the value or the quality of a surfing score. Other than Stevie Ray Vaughan, I think the rest of it, I can write it off to 87. These guys were getting up there. Gilligan looked like he was 75, but he probably was actually only 48. I'm probably the same age as Gilligan now, but I was willing to cut them some slack.
It was called At the Surf Off, Big D. At the surf off. In the end, the big kahuna overcomes his own fears and proves that he is still the king of the surfers as he takes back his title and saves the beach from a gang of beach punks led by Zed. Guys, Zed. I absolutely loved Zed. He's handsome. He's confident. He's a tad dopey. And his crew, they're not like evil per se. I mean, we talked about the pajama party. Listen, these guys took care of Bobby for like a whole week when nobody even gave a shit where he was. Like his parents didn't even give a shit. I forgot Bobby existed. He was out of the movie. The Zeds, they took care of him. That big one with the red mustache is good with babies, but Zed is the leader. He's God on this beach. He's kind of hot. He's funny. And there's this scene where like the surfboard hits him right in the face and they just keep rolling film. They don't take him too seriously. And I was like, man, this guy's got a great jawline. He's very attractive. I kind of see myself in him a little bit.
No.
Like, why is this guy not a movie star? Why is Joe Holland not in more movies like this? He's kind of like a prototype for Ben Stiller. And I looked into it, and what the fuck? This guy died at 32 from a pulmonary embolism.
Wow.
That doesn't happen to 32-year-olds, y'all.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Wow.
Sorry,
That was so inappropriate.
The sound effects said, "Oh, it didn't matter."
No, that is not what the sound effects
No,
did.
Jesus.
Oh, not at all. That
Fucking
was
cold stone hearted here.
yes. When soundboards go wrong, the next episode of Chat the Movies.
Oh, shut on crime.
Fucking
Yeah.
man cow Big D over here.
No, but I found myself. I thought it was Zachary Quinto. I thought it was
Ew,
Spock.
Zachary
from-
Quinto's a lot hotter than
Yeah,
that.
Zed's hot, but Zachary Quinto's
Zachary
like
Quinto's
drop
fucking
your
gorgeous.
trousers hot.
Yeah, so I loved Zed. He seemed nice. The group seemed nice. The movie as a whole surprised me. From the poster, I was dreading this movie. I thought it was going to be miserable, but somehow by the end, I've just been either beaten over the head or I've bought into the lovability of the characters, except for Bobby. He's awful. When we get the final surf off and there's the Indiana Jones theme, it is green screen. Frankie, he's shaving, he's golfing, he's signing autographs. It is self-aware. When he starts to give the beach speech, everybody's like, yes, we've heard it, Frankie, shut up. And Michael's like, I promise I'll raise Bobby as my own son. The movie's aware, and by the end it works, and it has converted me to where I really had a fun time. I would love to, if I was back in college, to go get high and watch this. I could see it becoming a regular thing.
As you're describing your love for the green screen, would you describe that as sort of a parody?
Oh, that was, without a doubt, yes.
Just wanted to clarify.
Well, it could have been a recreation of the limited special effects back in the 60s. So maybe...
So a parody.
I know, maybe some would say an homage.
Or a parody. And I agree with you to some degree, because when the jokes aren't forced, when you've got these more subtle callbacks, it's fun. I thought the yellow polka dot bikini thing, the pajama party callback,
Yes!
the random sunblock that's yellow on their noses, the whole ska routine that Annette does, it's super cute. And I thought there were aspects of this movie that were charming, and not charming in a way that I think is like annoying and like sugary, saccharine sweet, just like cute little moments. And the movie certainly got so much better as it went on, because the moments like added up, and it becomes like Annette's driver toward the end, and it's much more Annette centric, and she's so damn likable you can't help but pay attention. And I was just bummed, because I wish like the first half of the movie were as enjoyable as I felt like the last half was, because I really did enjoy it.
I got to explain for people who haven't seen this movie, most likely all of you. The pajama party happens like in the first like half hour of the movie.
Yeah.
And then at the end, Frankie's like, we got to settle this the old way. And off camera, some guy just yells out, pajama party? It's the funniest joke of the whole fucking movie. And they never really address it. More of that.
Yeah.
Great catch, Ash.
But I mean, it took me almost to the end of the movie before I realized that Annette constantly changes wardrobe. I thought I'd caught a continuity error, that they had her in the wrong polka dot outfit. No, the whole movie, scene to scene, even if it's on the same day, her outfits are fabulous and unexplained.
And also another example of how it's
Oh,
a
shut up.
parody
Don't even say
of beach films. Thank you for proving my point. I like to be right.
I don't even know what the sound effect is, but I'm going to hit it.
Oh, you were wrong.
I'm glad I didn't play that when we talked about that actor being dead.
His name is Joe Holland. Now is the time of the podcast where we give our wipe scores for Back to the Beach. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's a perfect surf on a perfect day when you are the big kahuna just gliding out there, maybe on your lawn chair. 5 wipes is an absolute disaster. It is a catastrophic wipeout on the humunga cowabunga from down under. Ash, we'll start with you. What is your wipe score for Back to the Beach?
So this movie was really charming in the last half because of Annette Funicello, but I didn't really love the rest of the cast. And here's the deal. I love a good parody, but I think in order for a parody, again, to be good, the parody has to be not just self-aware, but smart about being a parody. And I don't think this one was, at least for a lot of the movie. It's corny in some parts that aren't in a fun way, like the end is. I think it's nostalgic in parts, but not in a fun way like the end is. And because of that, it's just, I felt kind of bummed because I felt it was a really huge missed opportunity. But I do love Annette Funicello. I thought that the montages were absolutely fantastic. Anything with the beach scene or surfing scenes, I get why these movies were famous in the 60s because it's just fun to watch people party at the beach, whether they're in yellow polka dot bikinis and Precious or on MTV in The Grind, like Gene liked. Either way, it's fun to watch beach people. And so because of that, I can't say that it's better than average because I didn't think it was. So I don't think it's horrible. So I'm saying it's 3 wipes.
I feel like this movie is a dozen corny jokes and a handful of pointless cameos away from being, I can't believe I'm going to say this, an 80s comedy classic. I actually rewatched certain scenes because I like them so much. Mountains Beach Report, all the Troy scenes, Fishbones Jamaica Ska, and I don't even like ska anymore. But they were just so good, so compelling, so infectiously adorable with Annette Funicello on stage. The side characters, Annette's undeniable charm, they push Back to the Beach just beyond average for me into that 2 wipe territory.
You know, I've been torn. You know, I'm really trying to stay away from doing fractions of a wipe score, you know, down to the 10th because it's frowned upon.
Thank you.
I had started thinking this was a 2 wipe because Erica in her commission letter wrote, "I hope it makes you smile." And I thought to myself, this is not going to make me smile. But I found it making me smile. So throughout the movie, I was like, you know what? She's right. This is great. Beach blanket bingo. Let's have a party. But I got to be honest. Okay. I was going to do a 2. I got to go with 2.5. I can picture 1987 that they were trying to become relevant. They were trying to do a parody. It was kind of a mix of everything. It was a little wild. I mean, for people who haven't watched it, PeeWee Herman appears and does a song and then flies away in a surfboard into the sky.
And the flying away part is the cool part. The song fucking sucks. He just says, have you heard about the bird? Oh, I don't know, 100,000 times. There's like strange muscle men lifting him up. He can't dance. It's definitely, the audio does not match up with his performance. He just showed up on set that day and they're like, all right, go.
Yeah, so it was a bit weird. So I can't in good conscience give it a better than average, but I can't lie. It did make me smile. So the commission, the purpose was right. It made me wish that I did mushrooms again because I would do mushrooms and watch this movie. It would be a lot of fun.
You can.
No, I don't know. I'm too old now. I don't think I could be relaxed enough. That was one of my mushroom rules. You have to be relaxed, like the people you're with, wear comfortable clothes. I think I'd be too uptight now, but if I find my inner Sandy again from my mall walking, maybe I will. But I will give it a 2.5 wipe, better than I expected, but still an average movie.
All right, there's 3 wipes from Ash, 2 wipes from me, and 2.5 wipes from Big D. That gives us an average of 2.5 wipes for Back to the Beach.
So, Gene, with 2.5 wipes, that now ties this in the 117 spot with Empire Records. It is slightly better than the Full Monty and the Fifth Element, and slightly worse than Army of Darkness and Halloween.
Fucking Fifth Element, I feel like it's in every fucking recap. We need to re-review The Fifth Element.
No, it's The Fifth Element is, here's the thing, is Mila Jovovich looks great in it. The Gautier outfits look amazing. Chris Tucker is fantastic. The rest of the movie is hot dog water.
No, it's not. No, it might be.
I don't know. We were early on that, and Kevin Brackett tried to pull us in. I'm the one who gave it a 2.75. I don't know.
Can I just say my favorite Shat quote ever is the last time we talked about Fifth Element. And Big D says, I didn't know it was bad then. Because I think like that right there should be maybe like our tagline, guys. We didn't know what bad was.
True.
All right, Big D. So that's 2.5 wipes for Back to the Beach. Thanks, Erica, so much for this commission. Big D, voicemails and emails. What do we got?
We do. First up is one of our listeners, Teddy.
Hi, you guys. Greetings from Chicago, Illinois. This is Teddy. I've been listening to you guys for about a year now. I work a lot in my car, so I get to listen to the podcast. I haven't really listened to the TV podcast, just the movie podcast. I'm a big movie guy. You know, I have to say, most of the time I disagree with all of you, but I love you guys. You guys are cool, and I don't care about disagreeing with anybody. But as far as like Ashley is concerned, she called the jokes and dirty work low hanging fruit, and I wanted to say there's nothing wrong with low hanging fruit. It's just as sweet as high hanging fruit. There's nothing wrong with toilet humor. There's nothing wrong with any of that kind of humor. It's all good, guys. Come on now. Let's not be so serious about everything. All right. Love you guys. Have a good day. Bye.
I said the low-hanging fruit was the homophobic jokes because homophobic jokes are low-hanging fruit, and I have no problem with toilet humor. Dirty work sucked.
I mean, here's the thing, is Teddy, is low-hanging fruit, we're just going to score it accordingly. So if you show me a movie that just does low-hanging fruit and doesn't get any of the, I don't know, high-hanging fruit, then I go, yeah, this is a middling movie. It gets about a 2, 3, maybe 4 wipe score. Whereas if you want to get the truly high scores, you got to fucking hit me with jokes that I did not see coming, that blow my mind, that are memorable. That's the high-hanging fruit. And so I think that's the issue. So it's if you got a guy that comes up to bat and every time he hits a single, well, not every time, that would be fucking insane. But if you got a guy, you know, comes up and he's just generating the occasional single on a bunt, and you got another guy that's a fucking home run hitter, I'm there to see the home run hitter, not there to see the guy that's just doing the okay thing.
I think you literally just described Norm Macdonald's comedy. He's doing the okay thing.
Yeah. He's a fullback.
Jesus. But Teddy,
I don't know what that means.
You made me so happy. Your voicemail, just the fact, I really do value the fact that I think our hosts across the board have been fairly different. If we all felt the same way and agreed, it would be boring. But I like that Ash has a different perspective. Gene has a different perspective. Roger had, Carrie had, the King Bee does. But I really am glad you're listening, and I'm glad that
disagree with all of us. I do love that. That's good.
Yeah. I think the fact that you never support any of it's great. You still listen. Our next voicemail comes from one of our previous callers and dedicated listener, Tom.
Tom, Crane, Texas. And this is for the review of the movie Dirty Work. I have a really good idea why there are so many anti-gay slurs in Dirty Work, and that is because Bob Saget directed it. And when he finished up shooting on Full House, people were starting to come up to him and ask him if Danny Tanner was gay, and he resented that. And also he resented, then they started asking him if he was gay in real life during this filming of Full House and America's Funniest Home Videos, and he resented that. Bob Saget did. And I got this from, he went on TV and said that several times after Full House, and also on radio talk shows. He said that several times after Full House. So I think that may be why there's so many and I gave slurs in Dirty Work. And also, I'd love to say, I love the work all of you do. I love all of you as hosts, and I hope you do this for many, many, many years to come. And your score for my Halloween 4 was perfect, dead on for what I would have given it. If I could give a personal Shat score. So keep up the good work, all of you. That includes you, Ashley. I've loved you since minute one as well. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Tom, I love you. It's a great theory. It's a great supportive voicemail. And I just love hearing from you, man. Like, goddamn.
So, Tom, you've been a great listener, and we've really enjoyed your voicemails. You know what I'm going to do? We have a column in our Shat score. We've never done this, and I want to ask you two guys if you're okay with it. We have a guest host score. Could we add Tom C's score into that?
On Halloween?
Yes, Halloween 4.
Absolutely.
So, Tom, you are the first listener, besides Ashley, who converted from listener. And only, who's converted into the podcast. We're going to add your score into the ranking. And thank you for listening. So next week, Gene, we have another sports movie about a former pool hustler, Fast Eddie Felson, who decides he wants to return to the game by taking a pupil. He meets talented but green Vincent Loria and proposes a partnership. As they tour pool halls, Eddie teaches Vincent the tricks of scamming, but he eventually grows frustrated with Vincent's showboat antics, leading to an argument and a falling out. Eddie takes up playing against and soon crosses paths with Vincent as an opponent. Commissioned by David Kay, came out in October of '86, directed by Martin Scorsese, and this is an Academy Award nominated film.
I recently heard someone posit that this is Scorsese's best picture ever.
Wow.
I'm looking forward to watching it again as an adult to evaluate that claim. So thank you, David, so much for commissioning it. And thank you, Erica, for commissioning Back to the Beach. That concludes this week's episode of Shat The Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat The Movies. Email us at host@shatthemovies.com. As Big D said, you can call us at 914-719-SHAT and support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, completing a free anonymous survey to help attract advertisers, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all the information by visiting our website, shatthemovies.com. Also, you can check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all the information on our website, shatontv.com. And for those of you who are asking if we're going to do the new Game of Thrones show,
yup.
Yeah. Duh. Wherever fine podcasts can be found, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by iTunes, please leave a 5-star review that helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-hosts, Big D, Dick Ebert, and Ash Schlafly, I'm Gene Lyons. Be sure to join us next week for the following movie.
Paul Newman, Tom Cruise, in a Martin Scorsese picture.
He's got the eye, he's got the stroke, he's got the flick.
Vincent's the best.
We got a racehorse here, a thoroughbred. You make him feel good, I teach him how to run. I'm not your daddy, I'm not your boyfriend, so don't be playing games with me. I'm your partner.
I love this.
You're an incredible flake. But that's a gift.
I made money.
I lost money. Hey, I'll come fix him. I got half of me that says I got a hold of the best thing that I ever seen, and half of me that says it just ain't worth it.
Why'd you take a walk? $500 says you choke right now. You used me.
Yes, I did.
I'm gonna leave.
This is Fast Eddie Felson. Who the hell are you? 25 years ago, I won my share of medals. But it was over for me before it really got started. I'm hungry again.
See some heavy legend action.
I won his best game.
You want my game? You couldn't deal with my game.
game, Jack. You're outmanned.
I'm gonna beat him, you know.
What makes you so sure?
Touchstone Pictures presents
You smell what I smell? Smoke?
Money.
The Color of Money.
Can you still remember spending your Friday?
Jesus Christ.
He's fucking
Gene!
been concussed.
I'm just laughing at. That's not funny.
I mean, I adore you, but that was not funny at all.
No, we're keeping it real. We're keeping it real.
All right. Have you ever stop it. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why do they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching?
Gene fucking
Oh my
Lyons.
goodness. What is going on? Now my computer's making noises like I plugged in
When
the
I
device.
just realized I've got this windbreaker on. Can you hear this?
No.